I've had the Air 3S for over a month now. I actually bought one personally, but I found a few issues that really make me doubt whether I made the right decision. I'm gonna give you my uncensored opinion on what's good and what's bad with this drone. All right, let me start by saying I do like the Air 3S. It's the best drone that I own. I really liked the Air 3 when it came out, so when the 3S was announced, it seemed like a no-brainer for me to purchase. And overall, the camera's great. It's got a larger 1-inch CMOS sensor on the wide angle with 12 megapixel or 50 megapixel options now. Now on the 3X telelens, like the Air 3, it's the 1/1.3-inch CMOS sensor with 48 megapixels on that. An upgrade over the Air 3, we do have 4K at 120 frames per second now, which is better than the 100 frames per second that we had on the Air 3. But here is my first issue. We're capped at that 4K. Air 2S had 5.4K, and it's an older drone.
DJI hasn't really come up with drones except for two that I can think of that have 5K. There's only two, the Air 2S and then the Mavic 3 Pro. Not the Inspire 3, obviously. Why not include it? Is it not really that popular of a setting that people don't really use it?
The one person I wanted to ask about the Air 2S, this is Maria Davis, Emmy-nominated drone pilot. That was done with what drone?
The Air 2S.
With the Air 2S. So first thoughts about the 3S compared to the 2S specifically.
Flying it, it was like smooth. The Air 2S, you could feel it chunking through the air, but the Air 3S was smooth like butter. It was just absolutely fun and amazing to fly.
How often do you end up using that 5.4K?
Actually, not that much at all. I've only used it less than a handful of times.
You know, we don't even use 5K when it's available, typically, unless we know that we need to punch in eventually. Obviously, it's good to record bigger, I think, because then you can punch in, you can get more details, and downsampling looks better, but we're a decision for sure.
If you already have an Air 3, I don't see a reason for you to upgrade. The Air 3 and the 3S are so similar, and a lot of the footage, if you put them side by side, the one area that I see the most improvement in is dynamic range. Really the overall details of the image as well. The Air 3 didn't come out that long ago, and it's still a great drone. The thing you are getting, of course, is that 1-inch CMOS sensor, whereas with the Air 3, it was a 1/1.3-inch CMOS sensor. We're capped at a smaller maximum bitrate, 130 megabits per second compared to 150 on the Mini 3, the Mini 4 Pro, even the Air 2S, which is several years old now. With software updates and upgrades to the efficiency, it may not make that much of a difference, but I still don't understand why we're going backwards here. I've seen several people online saying that they're never even getting up to 100. So we did some testing.
We took the Air 3, the 2S, and the 3S, and yeah, like the 2S is rated for 150, but it actually went slightly over, it looks like.
Yeah, 152 on this one, and this was at 4K, 10-bit at H.265. Air 3 was 130.
And it's rated for up to 150.
Yeah. The Air 3S is obviously less. It's 90.0 megabit per second for this one. So it is less, but when you look at the footage, I still like the Air 3S footage better. It's sharper, it's cleaner, and I think on the Air 2S, it looked a bit more soft. You know, the bit rates, I think we have to get to a point now where we have to think about what it actually really means. Megabit per second, right? It's the amount of data that gets captured every second. When we replay something on YouTube, for example, that bit rate is less than 10, typically. That's how YouTube re-encodes all of the data, is around 10 megabit per second. Really, if you go from 150 down to 10, are you going to be able to tell a difference? Rather than going from 90 down to 10, how much is visible to the naked eye? It's almost like megapixels on cameras for photos.
I think it's comparable. I think it is. There's not too much of a difference to say you could see a stark difference. Like if you were looking at the footage and you didn't know what drone it came from, you wouldn't know.
So with all that testing, I can't really tell a difference in the footage when switching between the drones at higher or lower bit rates. The footage still looks very nice. Now with some previous drone models, we looked at how easy it was to fly a drone while holding a baby. But what happens when that baby turns into a toddler. Well, then he is a perfect test subject for the auto tracking features on the 3S. If we just highlight our subject here in the green box, then we can enable that active track. I love to test in this area because there's so many poles. If our subject is not too distracted by the drone, when he runs behind some poles here or the drone loses him for a second, it quickly then does pick him back up, and it does pretty well here. Now, I am trying to use the focus wheel, and you'll see it's actually giving me a message that it can't adjust accordingly. So it is doing a great job with the active track, but in certain times that focus wheel is not coming into play.
I'm still waiting on an update where it can change a diaper as well. We'll see. Maybe the Mavic 4. This is not an issue for me, but it could be for some. There is no H.264 option on the 3S, and while it's definitely a smaller size, it also takes more computer power to play it back.
The codec, what it does is it takes the image and compresses it into this file, so it's like a zip file. So there is more data and it's more compressed, so it takes less space on your camera. Well, when your computer needs to work on the file, it needs to decompress that data. The process to decompress something that's been very compressed, like H.265, takes a lot of memory on your computer.
If you're running Windows 11 at the time of this recording, it does not natively support H.265, so you'll need to download an extension from the Microsoft Store.
Which is kind of mind-blowing to me that it doesn't have it natively.
Yeah.
But we work on Mac, and Mac has been really good with H.265 for many, many years, so it's never really been an issue. Smaller file and better quality out of it, so.
Yeah. Where I was surprised was to see how close and equivalent it was to the Mavic 3 Pro. Put side-by-side comparison, a lot of that footage looks so very similar, and the Mavic 3 Pro is priced significantly higher than the 3S currently. By all means, the Air 3S is still a consumer-level drone, but it is almost to that Mavic 3 Pro quality, and some of my shots in comparison, I did prefer the 3S over the Mavic 3 Pro in some instances. Details in the highlights, details in the shadows, both were pretty comparable, and that's where I thought I was surprised at how good the 3S looked compared to the Mavic 3 Pro.
Now, here's another small issue I have with the upgraded features, including the 42 gigs of internal storage, which I love, by the way, less flight time than the battery on the Air 3. I just don't like to see new models getting less flight time.
Right? Why do you think that is?
So they got a bigger battery on the 3S than they did on the 3. I think the LiDAR sensor, some of the brain power, which heats up battery. There's just more technology on board, I think, on the Air 3S. I don't know, hard to tell.
Yeah. You were so kind to give us one of your songs, Pulsar, and the intro footage, and then September. Where can people find you if they want to find and listen to your music?
Under a handle, Maria Davis Music. Or just go to mariadavismusic.com.
With the Fly More combo now, we're getting the ND filters included. It's a great addition, but an ND8, a 32, and a 128. Honestly, I'd rather have an ND16 or a 64. Come on, DJI, make it happen.
For kind of work that I want to do and stuff like that, do you think I can get away with the 3S? Do you think I made the right decision, or do you think I should have waited?
I still think the Air 3 and the Air 3S are the best package that you can get for the money.
With all the minor issues I found, the 3S is still the best drone that I own personally. If you want to learn everything that you can about the Air 3S, we have a free deep dive video on the Pilot Institute website. Not to brag, but it's pretty great. See you in the next one.